Welcome to the third season of the Path of Awakening podcast. I'm your host, Heather Ashley, and I'm so excited to begin this journey with you. Whether you're brand new to awakening or deep in your own process, this episode is meant to help you make sense of how your spiritual journey began and why. This season is all about the spiritual awakening journey and everything that you will experience on your journey, as well as showing you how to expand your consciousness and raise your vibrations and tap into abilities that you have forgotten. It's going to be an awakening like no other. And I hope that you guys will join me on this path. So, this season, each episode will start off with questions from our listeners. So, all you have to do is listen to till the end of each episode and hear what the topic for the next episode will be. And then you can just send in your questions that's pertaining to that specific topic for the new upcoming episode. And you can email me at mindunbound39 at gmail.com, or you can send me a message on my TikTok channel, Path of Awakening 222, with your questions for the following week's episode. And you can have your questions hopefully answered here on the live. You can also join me on on Sunday afternoons I will be recording or I'll be live streaming at 10 o'clock every Sunday morning. Live streaming the new episode on YouTube. So please do join me over there. So that way you guys can, ask your questions and stuff while I'm on live as well. So our first question is, does opening your third eye hurt? Great question, by the way. And the answer to that is absolutely not. No, it does not. Because it's not a physical organ, not in the way that our two eyes, our two normal eyes are. It's a metaphor for where one of the seven main chakras is located. In Hinduism, it's called the Anya energy center. In spirituality, it's referred to as the third eye chakra, which is associated with intuition and higher consciousness. It's not a literal eye or a physical organ, but rather a metaphorical eye that allows you to perceive beyond the limitations of your ordinary five senses. In many spiritual traditions, the third eye is associated with intuition, clairvoyancy, and spiritual awakening. When the third eye is awakened, it is believed that individuals can experience a deeper connection with their intuition, leading to enhanced decision making, a greater understanding of themselves and the world around them, and raising their level of consciousness to their highest level of consciousness. So, thank you for your question, and I hope that that answered that for you. Now, let's begin our first episode. This episode is going to be all about spiritual awakening. So, what is spiritual awakening? At its core, a spiritual awakening is a shift in consciousness. You begin to see beyond the surface of reality. You question, what you've been told, and you start searching for, truth and depth and meaning to everything in life. A spiritual awakening is a profound shift in awareness and consciousness, often characterized by a sense of interconnectedness and heightened intuition. Common signs include, increased empathy, a reevaluation of your beliefs, and heightened senses, vivid dreaming, and synchronicities, which we're going to go over all of those here in just a moment. You could physical symptoms, could be like fatigue and emotional shifts that, are also possible. So you begin to realize that you are not your pain, you're not your trauma, you're not your conditioning. You are something far greater, and you have you're a soul that's having a human experience. So, what triggers a awakening? Well, these are some of the most common triggers for awakening, and I'll explain them. So hopefully you'll understand a little bit better about how each one can, awaken you. So the first one is this is one of the main causes for somebody to go through an awakening, and actually, this is basically what sparked my awakening as well. So grief or loss, losing a loved one, especially unexpectedly, that can tear open the heart, and it can force you to confront death, eternity, or the soul even. An example, so you might begin sensing the presence of a loved one after they've passed away. You may start dreaming of them or feeling them around you. And that's not a coincidence, it's the beginning of your awakening. The second one is near death experiences. This also was a part of mine as well. Many people who have come close to death, they report a massive shift in their perception, afterwards, the way that they, view things like as in heaven and hell, life and death, things like that. It's as though a veil is lifted from them. So the third one is illness or physical breakdown. A serious illness can pull you out of the fast paced 3D world, and it can turn your attention inward, looking, inward to yourself. You may begin to ask questions like, what am I doing here? Things like that. The fourth one is trauma and life altering events. So, like breakups, betrayal, financial collapse, emotional rock bottom. All of these can push you toward awakening when the ego structure crumbles. Soul contracts is number five, and divine timing. So sometimes a person awakens without trauma, without a trauma trigger, basically. Their soul has simply chosen to wake up at a particular time due to soul contracts and things like that. Something will just click in them, a song, a dream, a conversation, and then suddenly they just remember all of this stuff. So here are some signs. How do you know when you are going through the awakening process? So here are some of the most common. Now, this is not all of the signs that you could be awakening. These are just some of the common, the most common ones. So you may experience vivid dreaming. Or a desire to learn about like the afterlife, the chakras, or healing. Even dreams may become more vivid and meaningful, and potentially offering you insight, or guidance. You are more sensitive to like energy and crowds and negative environments. So that means like, if you go around a bunch of people, you may pick up on all of their energies. It may become overwhelming for you. And so how I know whenever I'm around too much negative energy, my face will become really hot. It feels kind of like my blood pressure has spiked up. My ears will burn really bad, and sometimes my heart will even race. And that's letting me know that I'm around too much negative energy, or that the energy is just very heavy. And by heavy, I mean there's too much there, so too much negative there. So you began questioning religion, politics, and even societal systems. So you may start to question the government or things that they do, religion, your churches. You basically will start to question all of that. You feel both confused and deeply drawn to higher truth at the same time. Synchronicities will start happening everywhere. So you'll start seeing numbers repeating like 111, 444, 999. You may even see signs or symbols such as like sacred geometry, or just symbols that, in an unknown language. You might experience frequent coincidences, or meaningful connections where events seem to align in a purposeful way, and you have no idea how they aligned, at all. You may feel a stronger connection to others, and experience a deeper sense of compassion for like their suffering and stuff. You your values and beliefs may change, leading you to question what you previously held as true. You may also feel you may also feel a need to distance yourself from certain relationships as your values and perspectives change. You also could be experiencing like fatigue and headaches, or other, physical symptoms. All of those can be part of your awakening process. And then your inner voice, it may become clearer, um, and you may feel a stronger, sense of like knowing or intuition even. So now, I want you guys to remember though, okay, awakening, it can feel like a mental breakdown at times. I'm not even going to lie. The psychological disturbances experienced during awakening are, often temporary. And of course they don't last, and they don't, but they do not, and they do not indicate a chronic medical health condition. The intense emotional and cognitive changes associated with a sudden energetic awakening can be misinterpreted as a psychiatric illness, leading to like unnecessary medications and confinement and stuff. So you because the people around you are, likely thinking that you're crazy, but you're not. In essence, a sudden awakening can be a significant life event, but it is not inherently a sign of a mental instability. It is important to distinguish between the temporary psychological disturbances that can occur during an awakening and the more serious symptoms of, a mental illness. Seeking professional guidance when necessary is crucial for both understanding and managing these experiences effectively. If someone experiences intense or persistent mental health difficulties, it is crucial for them to seek, professional help, as soon as possible, just to be safe. So, why does this happen though? I mean, isn't awakening supposed to be a good thing? Well, and it is. It is a great thing. It's the best thing. But it actually happens because spiritual awakening experiences can involve like, a deeper understanding of yourself, of oneself, a heightened sense of purpose and a shift in your values. And you're also you have to remember you are basically everything you had ever been taught and learned about from your parents, from their, from everybody that's ever been around you and been in contact with you. Everything, every bit of knowledge you've ever gained at that, up to this point, you're having to realize that has been false, and you're having to wake up to a whole new truth about everything. So it's as if you're having to relearn everything, but learning the truth this time, and that can put a lot on you, These experiences are often characterized by clarity and peace and connection. Sudden or intense awakenings can, sometimes cause psychological disturbances. So, like for example, if someone that suffers from mental health issues prior to their awakening, then those individuals might experience like dissociation, paranoia, or even depression during the process of spiritual transformation. In essence, a sudden awakening can be a significant life event, but it is not inherently a sign of mental instability. So, it is very important to remember to take things slowly during your awakening journey. Don't try to rush it. Meaning, don't go down any rabbit holes. Awakening is all about awakening to all truth about everything, not just one thing. So, try to wake up, so when you try to basically wake up to every one of those truths all at the same time, it can be extremely overwhelming, and that can lead to those problems that we were just discussing. Meditate. Meditation will be your best friend. I'm not even going to lie. Take time to meditate. Take time to sit in your power. This will help you tremendously. You have no idea. And then practice self love and care. That will also be very helpful. And you can always seek out classes if you feel like you need to. I do development, and tapping into your abilities, helping people journey through their spiritual awakening. And all of my classes are 100% absolutely. completely free. So you can always reach out to me through my email or my message me on TikTok, and I will go ahead and set up a date for you to do. And remember, you're not crazy and you're not going crazy. You're simply awakening to what's already inside you and what's always been there. That leads us to our next point, which is, why does awakening feel so lonely? Well, a lot of that is due to the fact that, not everyone around you is waking up at the same pace. So you may tend to feel isolated, misunderstood, outcasted by family and friends, or even ridiculed by them or, anyone. This often happens because those closest to you aren't awakening and you are. So they are still stuck in those old belief systems while you're not. So that's where the misunderstanding comes in. But, that just remember these two things though. One, that isolation is actually, it's going to be a sacred place for you right now. It's where you will build your connection to source and to yourself, to your higher self. And two, you're never truly alone. My inbox is always open. And, like I said, my classes are completely 100% free of charge, and I would be more than happy to help you. So now we're going to take just a second. I wanted to kind of share my own awakening journey with you guys so you could kind of understand what I was talking about. So my awakening began after the death of my mother, but really began whenever my brother passed away. So after I had, and then when my mother passed away, though, I had a near death experience. I just didn't know it at the time, that it would lead to what it led to. But 4 years later, after I had my near death experience, I found out I was pregnant with my youngest son, Gabriel, and that changed my life. And at the time, I was going to church. I was trying to be a better person and trying to do everything right and stuff. And well, that's where the very first awakening trigger happened for me. Would end up being at that church, from the very pastor of that church. Um, when one day he decided that he wanted to get up and tell the congregation how people should praise God and tell people who's praising God the wrong way, and that being me. And when I seen him make fun of me for the way that I praised God, and he did this in front of the whole congregation, that told me everything I needed to know about church. And I left, and I've never been back since, and I won't be back since. I won't be back after that either. So that one moment was the trigger that would, ignite my spiritual awakening journey. I just, wasn't fully ready or there yet. But before this would happen, I actually, right after that, found myself in my spiritual crisis, um, and, I kind of just tried to brush things off and things like that. But then I lost my brother in 2019. And when I lost my brother, that I felt like that literally took a piece of my soul with him. Um, and it was extreme. It's been extremely hard. But after that, now now I'm in a place where I you know, I understand, all of the things that my brother always tried to talk to me about, and I find it ironic a little. But okay, so anyways, when I found myself in my spiritual crisis, which was after my brother passed, so I found myself questioning, everything I thought I knew about God and religion and Jesus and otherworldly beings and life and death and heaven and hell and what's real and what's not. And in the midst of this crisis, I learned about the third eye. And so I started researching it and doing doing all the research I needed to do. And I started doing meditation, and I went through all the steps to awaken my third eye. And then after that, then I was on to astral projection then, because I knew that if I could astral project and I could go to my Akashic records, for one, I knew that then I would know that what was real and what was not. And then two, that I could see all of my past lives. And I knew that if I could see all of them, then I would, understand things a lot better. And I did. Well, but the first time that I astral projected, I didn't astral project to my Akashic records. I ended up in the fifth dimension somewhere for whatever reason. And then after that, a few more tries, I did finally, I astral projected to my Akashic records, and I've seen my very soul be born into its very first lifetime. I've seen every one of my lifetimes, and since then, I've had three past life regressions, and I have gotten them, you know, um, through that and everything. And those are like, I mean, I remember everything about every one of my lifetimes now. Um, so, even so, that I wrote a memoir about it, and it's also a self help guide as well, which will be published, sometime within this year. So I'm also, I've took, courses, and I've become a certified Reiki healer and energy worker. And I also am a human design analyst. I do mediumship, and I do psychic readings and everything. So, I am so thankful for my awakening process. As for my beliefs, well, I believe that our soul never dies. Never. It can't die. It's nothing but energy. It's pure, the purest of energy, because it comes from the source. So, yes, while we may have gotten here, from other beings from other planets, that's, to me, that's okay. That doesn't necessarily, I don't find no problem in that, because even if they did make us, our soul came from the source, it came from the creator. So therefore, I mean, he is real. Some people try to, that's where people's minds are closed off, I think, is that they believe that, if other beings from other planets exist, well, then God doesn't exist. Where did they get this logic? But anyways, okay. So, I do believe that we reincarnate. We have soul contracts, everything. And that's why we reincarnate. I do believe that when we we reincarnate according to what our life path number is. The reason why I say I believe that is because I've only ever gotten five past lives for me, even though my life path number is technically a master number, it's 33. But I can also operate at a six, and that's how many lifetimes I've had. So, therefore, that's just how I feel like I mean, that can't be a coincidence, because that's what my life path number, I can operate at a six, but my life path number is a master number, and master numbers, you can operate at the number that you would reduce it down to. So, okay, so now I also believe that, I feel like that death is a choice for us. I feel like that when we're done learning our soul lessons, or, doing whatever we had to do in each lifetime, then we just kind of simply choose to shift or ascend into a new timeline. And then once we're finally done reincarnating, I feel like that we can become one with the creator, or we can become one with the universe. I'm choosing to become a giant nebula, because they're beautiful and I love them. But I do feel like that will be a choice too. Our afterlife, when we're done reincarnating, I feel like that will be a choice as well. Because that's what I've seen for myself. Um, I know other worldly beings do exist. The reason why I know this is because because I came from my star origins are from the Pleiades and things like that. So I know that other beings exist, without a doubt. But and I also believe in Christ consciousness, and I believe that we're all born with these abilities, the same abilities that Jesus was born with, which they come from the Creator, the source. Um, and I believe that that's why Jesus was here. And I know that everybody in the comments is probably going to get very angry right now, but just please, try to have an open mind. But I believe that that's the real reason why Jesus was crucified. It was not due to him dying for our sins, but rather he was being put to death for the truth that he was trying to awaken everybody to, which was the truth that we do all have these abilities, and that they do come from the Creator. So now, you see the grief that I felt when I lost my mother and I lost my brother. It cracked open something inside of me, that could never close again. It set me on a journey, of healing and remembering, rising and awakening. And in the process of my awakening, I've learned so much about myself and, like the fact that I'm a bridge between the spiritual and physical worlds and a bridge between the stars and the earth realms. Um, and I'm here to help other star seeds awaken to their star origins as well. Um, you know, and I'm grateful for all of those things. So now that you know about everything there is to know about how you start your spiritual awakening and what triggers it, what brings it on, what can you do at this point? So for one thing, affirmations for awakening will can help you tremendously. Say if you get up every morning, you look in the mirror and you can say these different affirmations or your own affirmations. These are just some suggestions. So one could be, I am safe as I awaken to my truth. The second one is, everything is unfolding in divine timing. And then lastly is, my soul chose this path and I honor it. I love that one. That one's probably my favorite. Some also to get you a journal. Journal as much as you can. Journal everything. This will help you tremendously. And some different journaling questions you could put for yourself. And just ask yourself is, what event in your own life began your awakening journey? What beliefs, have you started to question? What signs or synchronicities have shown up for you lately? And that will definitely help you. You could also ask yourself, what past life traumas or, fears do you have that you feel like are still affecting you in this life? How can you heal from them and deal with them? Awakening is not, it's not a destination. It's not a race to get there. It's a process. Remember that. That will be your biggest help, probably, is to remember that it's not on a time limit. It doesn't have to be rushed. It doesn't have to be hurried. You don't have to get there at a certain time. Take your time with it. Take your time. That will have you'll be less overwhelmed then if you take your time with your awakening process. And, remember, it is going to be messy. But it's also sacred and it's yours uniquely. You're not here to fit in. You're not here, you're here to remember who you are and what you came here to do, what you're meant to do. Not just your life's purpose, but your soul's purpose. And in doing so, you can help others remember that as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you are going through your own spiritual awakening, please comment below and let me know. Uh, in our next episode, we'll talk about what happens after the trigger, and that is the dark night of the soul. So, if you have any questions about the dark night of the soul or anything that you would like me to answer on our next episode, then send me your question at mindunbound39 at gmail.com, or you can email me or you can follow me on TikTok and send me a message on there. My channel is Path of Awakening 222 on TikTok. Please do go follow both my YouTube and um, TikTok channels. So that way, and turn your notification bells on as well, so you'll know when new upcoming episodes will be on. And don't forget, every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, I will be going live on YouTube for the upcoming or for the episodes to live stream them on YouTube. So until then, stay awake, stay grounded, stay rising, and remember, love and light, everybody. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.